So tonight we're going to be talking about stress and fatigue because it is the #1 topic that people write down when we have a little form that people fill out when they come in about their top 5 complaints that they are coming in for, and stress and fatigue, being tired, chronic fatigue, those are the top ones. So we want to make sure that our patients know exactly what the issue is behind this. So we're talking about adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, and we're going to be talking about symptoms, causes, and remedies. So you do have the printout that you can kind of see. I don't know if it's in the right order, but you'll be able to see the slides. So let's talk about the adrenal glands. Does everyone know where their adrenal glands are in their body? You know where they are?
No.
They're right here. Above the kidneys. There's 2 of them. They're small. They're super small. And they secrete more than 50 hormones, including epinephrine, which is adrenaline, so your adrenals. So when you're in here working out, you have lots of adrenaline going, right? So your adrenals have to work really, really hard. So an example of someone who might have issues with their adrenals is if you are exercising and after you exercise, you feel really awful instead of feeling good. So when people have signs of adrenal fatigue, when they don't have adrenal fatigue, when they exercise, the endorphins go and they feel really awesome. You run, you get that runner's high. When you have adrenal fatigue, it's the opposite. You feel like you're going to die. And that's a classic sign of someone whose adrenals are a little bit too tired. There's so much adrenaline pumping that they just kind of afterwards. And recovery time is hard, so they can't work out 2 days in a row or they really feel bad. So a lot of times when people are doing a program with me and their adrenals are affected, I have them minimize their strenuous cardio exercise. So like spinning, they would have a hard time with because it's just so much cardio. It also secretes cortisol. Now cortisol, if you have women who have if you have the tummy, the lower, the fat that deposits there, that's an excess of cortisol. Too much adrenaline, overproduction of cortisol deposits fat around the midsection. Cortisol is crucial for the immune system and weight control. So you have to have a balanced amount of cortisol in your system for good health. DHEA is a sex hormone building block, progesterone, testosterone, and it's responsible for energy production, blood glucose for energy, fluid and electrolyte balance, and fat storage. So super, super important. The adrenal glands, your body can't function without them, so it's important to keep them nice and healthy. Symptoms of adrenal fatigue. Do you have that on is that on there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So as we go through this list, go ahead and see which ones you can relate to. So we have morning fatigue, you can't wake up until 10 a.m., afternoon low, sleepiness, clouded thinking from 2 to 4 p.m., bursts of energy at 6 p.m., sleepiness from 9 to 10 p.m., and then you get your second wind. So I know a lot of people that if they don't go to bed between 9 and 10 o'clock, they get their second wind and they can't go to sleep after midnight, and they're still raring to go. Cravings for foods high in fat and salt, increased PMS or menopausal symptoms, mild depression and inability to handle stress, muscular weakness, increased allergies, lightheadedness when getting up from sitting or laying down, decreased sex drive, frequent sighing. So I noticed, I had extreme adrenal fatigue, so it's kind of a near and dear subject to my heart because I was repaired from a lot of things like Lyme disease, Hashimoto's, thyroid issues, all those types of things. And I would always sigh and not realize it. My husband would always say, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "What do you mean what's wrong?" He's like, "You just sighed." I'm like, "No, I didn't. I did it so often I didn't even notice it." Yeah, he might have adrenal gland issues. Yeah, so it was one of those things that was fixed once my adrenals were fixed. I didn't do it anymore. I was constantly going, and I didn't even know it until he brought it to my attention. Then I got really self-conscious. I'm like, oh man, I do it all the time. Inability to handle foods high in carbs or potassium unless combined with fats and proteins. So some food combination issues, body reacts. People tend to crave more salt when they have adrenal issues. The adrenals really like salt. So people who have those salt cravings, they have to have the crunchy, salty. Yeah, is adrenals. So what are some causes of adrenal fatigue? Lack of relaxation, excessive stress, obviously, because the stress glands are the adrenal glands. Sleep deprivation. So if you don't get enough sleep, it puts a lot of stress on the adrenal glands and they have a hard time functioning. Chronic infection. So people who have constantly getting colds, so they're the one in the room that gets the colds all the time, no matter, somebody could sneeze a mile away and they get a cold, that kind of thing. Smoking, poor eating habits, nutritional deficiencies, repeated caffeine, sugar, and alcohol intake, organ dysfunction, toxic metals and chemicals, excessive exercise, especially cardio, unhealthy responses to stress, and congenital weak adrenals. So I'm going to go over a couple of these. So go up to the middle where it says repeated caffeine, sugar, and alcohol intake. What happens with adrenal fatigue is in the afternoon, you really crash after lunch, within 2 hours after eating. So you have a cup of coffee or have some chocolate or have some sugar. And it starts this kind of hamster wheel of constant adrenal issues because your body is going to start craving those things. And it's almost like you put yourself on a cycle. So you put yourself, if I have a cup of coffee in the morning, I can make it through till lunch, then I have whatever for lunch, and then I have my coffee or whatever again. And then at night, whatever you're doing, having dessert. So you go on this sugar caffeine kind of kick. And then your body depends on it and it can't get out of that cycle. So you have to really work hard to break that cycle. We do testing in our office for toxic metals and chemicals. We do nutrition response testing. We test for food sensitivities. We test for heavy metals and chemical toxicity. We also test heavy metals are like mercury, aluminum, those types of things. And we also test for immune system issues, so viruses and those types of things. We're finding congenital weak adrenals, which means babies being born with them. So if mom is really stressed out during pregnancy, they bring their baby. We do fertility, we do all sorts of things. So we see babies, we see kids, we see senior citizens, we see everybody. When babies come in from the hospital after being born, obviously birth is a very stressful experience, but we're noticing that they have weak adrenals when we do the muscle testing that we do. And a lot of times I've had mom on a program, or if I had a pregnant woman on a program and didn't have her the whole time, sometimes we'll notice that if she had adrenal fatigue, so will the baby. So it's interesting that we have weak adrenals in mom and baby.
Does she pass that through breastfeeding?
It's mostly just her adrenals are weak and the babies are weak when they're born, even before breastfeeding. Just the stress, the mom's under stress.
If the mom takes the supplements that you prescribe, would help the baby too?
Yeah.
Since if she's nursing, I mean.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and we see babies while the mom is nursing, and we have the mom take the supplements for the baby when she's breastfeeding. We can actually do muscle testing on a baby in the womb. So when at a certain point in pregnancy, when we can actually feel the baby, you can actually muscle test the baby and find out if there's anything going on with the baby, and then have the mom take the supplements for the baby and fix it. They've had stuff like that happen all the time, which is really cool. So,
can I ask you a question about cortisol levels?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen cortisol, though not to go too long on this, but my husband had Cushing's disease, which means he had this little tumor that produced so much cortisol that
Yeah.
he was like a manic
wow,
person
yeah.
and gained like 300 pounds, and they finally found it
Wow.
in the National Institute of Health and took it out,
Mhm.
and now he's just constantly trying to build his back up again.
Yeah.
But like I find like cortisol levels, like if you like sometimes I have the suspicion that mine peak like
They
in
do.
the afternoon to like make me stressful.
Yeah, they do. Cortisol is supposed to do balance at certain points of the day, ebbs and flows, and when it's in balance, that's when you go all off. That's when things go wacky. So there is a cortisol. We don't do it at our office because we just test the adrenals with muscle testing and it takes care of everything. But there is saliva testing that you can do where you actually do your saliva certain times of the day, send it into a lab, and they tell you what your levels are, which is very telling. Yeah, so you can kind of see when it's low.
That might like cause sleep problems.
Yeah.
If you're getting it.
Yeah, if it's high in the night and you're up and you can't go to sleep, it's a tired and wired feeling. That means your adrenals are way too high at nighttime. Yeah, so for me, I'd be exhausted during the day, but at night I'd be like, oh my gosh, let's clean the whole house, and then I'd be so done, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm dead. So it was the wrong time of the day. I was like, can we please just fix this? So yeah. Some remedies are adopt a natural whole foods diet. We prefer anti-inflammatory, Mediterranean type. People, I don't believe in eliminating everything unless you test badly for it. So we do the food testing, nutritional testing to see, okay, what specific foods you're sensitive to, because it's really difficult to just say, okay, I don't really know what is good for me, so I'm just going to eliminate entire food groups. And that becomes very unsustainable. If you fix the body, you can eat normally. You just have to fix what's going on. Everyone has food sensitivities who has symptoms because there's an immune system issue that's causing a problem. So if we can fix your immune system, fix your adrenal glands, then we can add those foods back in. You can eat a whole food healthy diet with an occasional treat and not have it mess you up so bad. So avoid junk food. Obviously the white flour, the white sugar, those types of things. Drink high quality filtered water. We have not great water in the area. Our tap water is highly chlorinated. Most of the districts have fluoride in it as well, which causes just the body to be, you have to work really hard to handle those chemicals. Eat 5 servings of vegetables each day along with good fats. The reason why we say to eat your vegetables with good fats is because we don't want you to be afraid of the good fats because your brain needs them, your body needs them. So coconut oil, butter, those types of things your body actually needs. And many vegetables contain the fat-soluble vitamins of D, K, and A, which are unlocked by the fats. So if you eat, say, a sweet potato with some, grass-fed Kerrygold butter on it, it's actually easier for your body to digest and process and convert those nutrition, the beta-carotene, to the vitamin your body needs to use because it's fat-soluble. If your body is no-fat, low-fat, you're not really getting your full potential of your nutrition, so you're not getting the nutrient density out of your foods. So that's something to keep in mind. Avoid white flour, other processed grains. We talked about that already. Add sea salt to your diet, replacing table salt. So the white iodized table salt is really junk salt, and that's when people have high blood pressure and they say go off of salt. If you go off of that salt but eat Himalayan salt or sea salt, you're not going to have a problem. It's that iodized salt. It causes a problem in the body, and that is the issue. So you can have good amounts of the better salt because of the mineral content, because it's like 30% minerals in that salt. So you're actually getting nourished. My computer's going to die on me. Here we go. Take whole food supplements specifically designed for your needs. So I don't believe in willy-nilly just, supplementing and going to GNC and just getting whatever, because it's all nutraceuticals. And a nutraceutical means it's a chemically lab-derived nutrient, like vitamin B or whatever. It's synthetic. The body will accept it initially and say, oh, yay, I got a vitamin. And then all of a sudden the body says, wait a second, this isn't the real thing. And it actually starts to deplete your own vitamins. It acts like I think of like the Tasmanian devil, like going this into your body. So if your body is only getting, say you're getting vitamin B12 and it's not the whole B complex, your body is going to want to have the whole B complex, and that vitamin B12 is actually going to start looking for its other counterparts. So synthetic vitamins can actually suck the actual vitamins out of your own body, and you actually become more nutritionally deficient and more dependent on them. It's almost like a drug. Nutraceuticals like a drug. So if you look for vitamins that are whole food based, then your body says, oh, that's food, I can use that, and use it long term. So we really are specific in what we're looking for vitamin wise. Replace toxic household and personal care products with non-toxic alternatives. If your body has to fight against your environment all the time, it has a hard time healing. So the air in closed buildings is more toxic than the air outside. So a lot of times, like stay-at-home moms have a higher toxin level in their bodies than people who work outside the home, because they're in their house, they're cleaning, there's bleach, there's all these things in their house. If you minimize that and even if you're using vinegar and water, then it's less. But you can use essential oils. There's plenty of companies out there like 7th Generation and those types of things that you can get non-toxic stuff. So easy now. Before, it was a lot harder, but it's becoming more mainstream, which is good. Do something fun each day. Take a break. That's important. Self-care is important. A lot of times, I always tell people you can't pour from an empty cup. I let myself get so stressed out years ago and so just overwhelmed with everything. I was a stressed out stay-at-home mom, and I thought I had to take care of everything else, and I didn't take care of myself. And then my health crashed, and then I was forced to. And now I teach other people how to take care of themselves, and I make sure I try to take care of myself. Sometimes it doesn't work out that well as a workaholic now, but it's important to take a break. So I ride horses for my break. So I have horses. I have a horse farm. So that's my break. Go outside with the chickens or whatever. Or your ducks. I go out with her ducks because she gave me some ducks. Yeah, her duck babies. I'm the duck baby mommy. So yeah. Spend some time take a spiritual inventory of your life. Does it need some work? Spend time in the sun each day. Get lots of rest. Essential oils. I love essential oils for the uplifting things that they can do for your body. So we like to diffuse the citrus oils in our office, like the lemons and the oranges, because they're just very uplifting. And especially this time of year, people can get really depressed. I don't do well in the winter. I'm more of a spring and summer, fall girl, and anything but winter, because I don't like the darkness. I go to work early in the morning, I come home and it's dark, and there's really not a whole lot of time to spend time in the sunlight. Low vitamin D. It's December now, so I start checking all my patients for their vitamin D levels, make sure they're okay. So the citrus oils really do help. The other things are laugh, exercise, minimize stress as much as you can, take negative people out of your life as best as you can. Sometimes it's very therapeutic just to take a step back from people if you can. Obviously it's hard if it's a family member, but sometimes we get into these little circles where you're just around the same people all the time, and you know they're not good for you, but you don't know what to do about it. So there's been some groups that I've actually had to remove myself from and reevaluate, why am I really in these groups? Because I always feel bad after I leave them. I go home and I'm like, oh, I feel awful about myself. I just feel awful. Try to surround yourself, with like-minded people and people that encourage you and lift you up rather than rip you apart, because life's way too short for that. Sometimes it is family members that you have to from extended family, and that's okay if you have to do that. Okay, so then I have on here, I have a couple things in the bottom, the herbs and essential oils that I really like. Specifically are, I like lavender, rosemary, clove, basil, peppermint, and the citrus oils, the lemon, bergamot, sweet orange. And there's adaptogenic herbs. You can get these in teas. They have these kinds of teas at Whole Foods and Mom's Market and Wegmans. But the shatavari and ashwagandha, they are considered the Ayurvedic herbs, and they are more of the woody tasting, earthy tasting ones. You can mix them with cinnamon or tulsi, holy basil for really good adrenal health tonic. And you can drink that. It's in the evenings if you'd like.
That's what I was going to say. Someone said once the ashwagandha is good.
Yeah.
To help you sleep.
Mm-hmm. It's very relaxing. So when my adrenal fatigue was really bad, my herbalist at that time had me make a tea with ashwagandha, shatavari, holy basil, and sweet cinnamon chips. And I would simmer it on the stove for 20 minutes on low, and then I would drink it an hour before I went to bed. And it was very, very relaxing. And it helps it's like therapy for your adrenal glands. So your adrenal glands can kind of restore. And then when you go to sleep, that's when your body detoxes and heals. So then you're able to actually have some really good benefits.
So in your opinion, it's much better for your body to use something like that in its natural form rather than buying an ashwagandha gold capsule or whatever.
You could do that. Yeah, I know you can do that too. The herbal capsules are good. It's more therapeutic, and sometimes it's easier to take because some people will get sick of drinking the tea every night.
As opposed to the synthetic vitamins.
Yeah. Go for the herbal. So if you're getting a capsule that says, it's ashwagandha in there, shatavari or whatever, then that's okay, rather than, a synthetic vitamin or adrenal vitamin or something like that.
Are there tea bags that have these things in them already, or do you have to?
Probably. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you can get at least some of the ingredients in a tea, like an adrenal health tea, like traditional medicinals is a tea brand, and they usually have a tea like an adrenal health tea. Or a stress relief tea, one of those types of things. Other herbs that are really good for your adrenals are ginseng, rhodiola, gotu-kola, schizandra, bacopa, and licorice root. Now, bacopa is fun because bacopa is also really good for the brain. So people who have adrenal fatigue tend to have brain fog, feel really kind of cloudy and foggy. Bacopa is clinically proven to improve your brain capacity. It actually can raise your IQ. There's journal studies that has done that, and we like to use it for people who have dementia and Alzheimer's too, because it really kind of helps to kind of sharpen them up a little bit more. That along with some good fats. And licorice root I love for millions of reasons. It's almost like a natural steroid, so it kind of reduces stress in the body, reduces inflammation, and it's really good for helping the adrenal glands. So let's see. Any questions?
I have a food-related question, if that's okay.
Okay.
I was talking to someone today who really pissed me off because she told me, I was in an appointment, and she told me that, I was in a meeting with her, and she told me that you need to eat just fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and that's it.
So no protein?
I guess your protein comes from the nuts.
Well, you would have to eat a lot of nuts to get the protein. You need to get at least 70. Most people.
But I told her how
Yeah, I mean you'll bloat yourself up because there's just as many carbohydrates most of the time, so you have a pretty equal amount of carbohydrates and proteins, and you would need to eat a lot of nuts, and the digestive process for those. You couldn't do it because you need about 70 grams of protein a day. Most people do, and you're not going to get that with.
She got really angry with me because I was like, well, my natural health practitioner.
Yeah.
I told her how when I first started going to you, I was just starting to really attempt to go vegan, and how you told me
yeah,
it's not the healthiest thing to do, and I was telling her about that, and she was like, she got angry and then changed the subject. And I was thankful because I didn't really want to talk about it anymore either because I was getting angry. But
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that's not really the way
No,
to go.
there's so much misinformation out there on food and how the
She
body
said
works.
It's based off of the medical medium. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Is he?
Some of his stuff's okay. Bullshit, yeah, maybe. Some of his stuff's okay, but I mean, you can't. That's more of a cleansing diet. So if you're going to if you're going to go vegetarian or vegan, that's like more of a short-term thing for most people. And at some point, I mean, I have a lot of vegetarians and vegans who come in and their teeth are crumbling, their hair's falling out, their thyroids are shot, their adrenals, because they don't get the protein. Yeah, the collagen. So if you can be a vegetarian and vegan and do it right, but you're going to have really high amounts of vegetable proteins, like pea proteins, those types of things, and you really have to work. You need at least 15 different kinds of beans at each meal, like variety-wise, to make up the proteins. Who's going to eat 15 kinds of beans at each meal?
I don't even like that.
Gross. I don't want them.
Salmon.
I know. Have some fish. So most of my vegetarians, I used to not take vegetarians at all, because it was so hard. It was so hard to try to, the nutrition, to try to figure it out without it. Like, it was so much math for me, and I'm like, oh, this is so hard.
A lot of your products have, like, bovine brain.
They do. So standard process does have a lot of animal, like liver, because you need, so like cures like, so if someone's adrenals are shot, then I'm taking it, there's bovine adrenal and, adrenal gland in to kind of like fix you, and it's amazing. I mean, I fixed myself completely. I was stuttering. I couldn't even leave my house. I was stuttering. I was weak. I was a mess. And this wasn't that long ago. This was only like 5 years ago. So those products are near and dear to me. So when people say they won't take them, I get really mad. I'm like, you have no idea what you're missing, because you could be like me. You could be jumping off the walls and have good energy finally. But yeah, so you can be a vegetarian and do it healthy, but you're going to have to do a lot of work. And I won't do it for the person either. Like, you really have to do your own stuff. And I will do all herbal stuff, like, for people if they need to, but it takes a longer time, and you're not getting the good nutrition because your body's missing nutrition. So we're looking at the body as an individual. So all three of you could come into the office with the same exact symptoms, but your treatment plan will be completely different, because everybody's different. So, you might need adrenal support, and you might actually need thyroid support, because you have the same symptoms, but it's not your adrenals, it's your thyroid. They work together. So we have the endocrine system is all connected. So you have your pituitary, you have your hypothalamus, you have your thyroid, your adrenals, you also have pancreas and things. They're all connected, ovaries, uterus. There's the pituitary, hypothalamus, thyroid, adrenal axis, which all work together. If one goes down, they all go down. So if we're testing each organ with the muscle testing that we do. We're testing each organ. If we have one that comes up, we know later on in their journey of health, something else is going to say, hey, I need some help too. Because we're testing your whole autonomic nervous system, which is what runs your body. It's your nervous system. It's the information superhighway. So we have to make sure that we have every single thing in place to have everything balanced. So we're able to take people who are, the doctors will tell them, we don't know what's wrong with you, it's in your head, because your blood work looks normal. Well, blood work is bull, because what they're doing is blood work can be helpful, but most of the time it's bull, because they keep moving the ranges.
Yeah.
So
Did they just change the cholesterol? No, what did I just
blood pressure.
High blood pressure just changed, so it went from 130 to 120 now?
Yeah, so what happens is the sicker our population, they take the ranges from the sickest population. So the population keeps getting sicker and sicker. So the ranges used to be here and here, and more people would fall into the normal range. But now that it's sicker, the people who are actually still sick but not as sick are saying they're normal, and they're not normal. So the doctor says, I'm a functional nutritionist, so I read blood work, so people bring in all their tests to me, and I read them all. So I put them through a database that tells me the real ranges, so I can say, yes, you actually have a problem, when the doctor just looks for flags. So that a doctor will get blood work back and he'll say, okay, no flag, you're fine. And they leave a person that's completely broken in their office crying, like there's something wrong with me, and they're saying, would you like an antidepressant? Because that's what you need.
That's why I started going to therapy, because I was so sick of doctors telling me there was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And, your blood levels are normal. I was coming up for Lyme's as like borderline, so it wasn't in the right flag, so they wouldn't do any deeper testing.
Do you have Lyme's?
I had it.
Yeah.
Sarah treated me. I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
I assume I don't have it anymore, right? Last time you tested me.
Last time I tested, you didn't have it.
I don't feel like I have it anymore. I went from like having joint pain all over my body. I was like,
I have a
so
friend
much
that
pain.
just got that.
Really?
She lives in North Carolina.
Yeah, you can give my info, and I can actually give you a clinician finder to see if anybody's down there. I use a specific set of herbs that not all nutrition response testing practitioners use because I'm an herbalist too, so I use other herbs besides what some of them use to handle it. So what we always tell people is we don't really treat or diagnose anything because we're not doctors, but we do support the body so the body can do it on its own. But herbs kind of act like medicine, so herbs can give it a little boost, kick it out of your system.
Sarah found high levels of metals in me too from the vaccines from basic training,
Oh, that doesn't
and then she treated that.
Yeah.
Like I don't eat fish, so like I would never have like the magnesium thing. But like, what is aluminum in?
Deodorant,
No, I use
non-aluminum.
I use some. What do I use? I use this $12 deodorant now. The hell is it called?
Piperway? Do you use the Piperway? No.
It's crap. I get it on auto because my hormones were changing because I guess I'm getting perimenopausal, and no deodorant I was using was working.
Yeah.
So I switched to this deodorant.
Schmitz? The Schmitz?
No, I saw it online.
Yeah, so a lot of people are getting aluminum from their deodorant. What else are we finding? We're finding benzene a lot. Benzene is in a lot of personal care products. People are getting zinc and titanium from makeup, mineral makeup. So
I
again,
take zinc though.
yeah. Sometimes the zinc, if it's a
Native.
that is native, yeah, that's expensive, but it's pretty good deodorant.
I get it every quarter.
It's
So
like
it
an
works
auto
every
ship?
quarter. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
an auto ship and it's fine.
It works for you?
It works, yeah. Because I used to kind of spin that. I was like, Jesus Christ. I sit right here and nobody
Yeah,
freaking
I know.
I was like, Jesus. Like, I come home, the dog was like, Joe. Like, really, it was bad. So, so that helped. But
Cool. Any other questions? Anything we didn't cover that you wanted me to cover, or yeah, we have.
Yeah, and we tested for heavy metals.
Yeah. Yeah, the testing isn't super expensive, so we do, all my workshop attendees get a discount. So normally it's $180 for all of the testing. It includes 2 visits. It's the initial consultation hour, all the testing, report of findings for the results, usually $180. I do it for $100 for workshop attendees because we do a lot of workshops at the office. And then we tell you at the results visit exactly what we found, what that means. And then if you decide to do a nutrition program, that's follow-up visits. It's different, and they're like $55. But yeah, so we're able to do all that and figure out, and then and Natalie does that with me, so she's on a program, so that's
I
cool.
think I might have been telling you the other day. Were we talking about the other day? Like, I started with Sarah last August, and there was actually like, I don't really know what to call it without saying what happened, but something happened in May. So that, like, I was in denial that I was in like a deep depression from that, and I also had anxiety issues like all my life, and it was just getting kind of worse as I was getting older.
Right.
When I went away to basic training, I was in a state of like constant panic attacks. So like I came home and I really wasn't having any more panic attacks because it was like one of those immersion therapy type things. But I was still having like terrible anxiety. So with the anxiety and the depression and everything like that, I went to Sarah. Two of the things she put me on, like to this day, like there are times where I like feel like I should be having a panic attack right now. Normally, I would be on a full-blown panic attack. Normally, this would be snowball mode right now.
Yeah.
I feel fine. I feel great.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
And it's been over a year now, and great. So, I mean, and like I said, the joint pain. I was having terrible joint pain. I was having some like weight issues, and we've been on and off like working on that. But I think part of the problem might have been that I was teaching too many classes because I actually pulled back some of my classes.
Yeah.
And I've been feeling a little bit
Yeah.
better.
So when I was doing my master's, I did my case study on Natalie. So she helped me with one of my final project case study. And that's what I determined.
discount for that.
I know. So what I found was that Natalie her job is causing her to not be able to lose weight, even though she's like, I exercise all the time. Like, that's the problem. It's over. She was taxing her adrenals.
There's a lot of classes where you can just stand there.
No.
Like the yoga, she walks around most of the class, so it's not like she's over yogaing herself.
Body pump, you can't just stand there.
No.
Zumba, you can't
She's
just
like,
stand there.
Yeah.
Spinning, I could easily fake it if I needed to, but But yeah, I was teaching 20 classes a week.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's what we determined. And then when I had the feedback from the instructors, they said the same thing. They said, is her thyroid and adrenals taxed? I'm like, oh yeah, all the time. All the time. So she's like, yeah, tell her to stop teaching so many classes. I'm like,
But
okay.
I think I'm well, I have two thyroid, like helper pills.
Yeah.
that I take.
Supplements,
So I
yeah.
think those have helped.
Yeah, they do.
too.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about in the causes of adrenal fatigue is the unhealthy responses to stress, and I usually elaborate that, and I didn't elaborate on that, but I didn't. What that means is that, like, say I knock my water bottle over and it makes a huge sound. Someone with adrenal fatigue or adrenal stress, their reaction to that is going to be over the top. It's almost like a car crash happens in front of them. They have this. So when my kids would knock something over, I would freak out like it was this major thing. So what I tell people is that your situation may not change, whatever you're going through, stress-wise, but your response to it, if your adrenals are healthy, will change. So people will come in and they're like, I didn't realize how bad I felt until I went through your program, and then I didn't feel that bad anymore. And I go back and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I even survive? Because they're going through divorces, they're going through all these things, and they're in this constant state of like, but they're able to take a breath and see it almost outside yourself kind of thing, like just like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better now, just because your adrenals can handle the stress and you're not overproducing that cortisol and freaking the heck out.
My husband he was like, mad.
Yeah.
You know, like, we
Yeah.
were in the other room.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I gotta do this, gotta do that. I'm like,
Yeah. So the people who wake up in the middle of the night and have to clean their whole house, they definitely have adrenal fatigue. They don't know it yet. We have to fix them. Yeah. So, any questions about any of the little bullet points? Anything that I ran through that we didn't clarify on exercise, since we're in a gym?
I'm glad I drug myself out on a Friday.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys came. I'm so excited. All right, I'm going to shut off my little video. Bye, guys. See you later.